All right, yesterday, the DOJ made a major announcement. They filed for 24 denaturalization cases against naturalized criminals who apparently didn't disclose their criminal behavior prior to becoming U.S. citizens. Now, obviously, that is something that is very problematic. And so the DOJ, which is very impressive, has been going after these individuals and pulling back or trying to pull back their citizenship. This recent list, includes 24 people, like I mentioned, but it includes people who were charged with attempted murder, spousal abuse, as well as child sex offenders. So these are the kind of people you definitely do not want in your country. And speaking of that, there's a lot of other people we don't want in our country. And sadly, we're having an issue removing those individuals who are Islamic terrorists. That seems to be a big issue here. Our country has been so kind, so gracious, and has given citizenship to people who weren't worthy of just that. So that's the reason why Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne has brought forward a bill that is very, very important. She's looking to introduce the bill. It's called Getting Terrorist Fanatics Out Act, and it is quite impressive. And she joins us now to discuss just that. Congresswoman, I want to thank you for being here. This is a very important bill that you're bringing forward, and it's one that's worth the attention of both the speaker and all Republicans right now, because we have an issue. We've brought in a lot of Islamic terrorists, and they've carried out several terror attacks on U.S. soil after they were given citizenship. And so you're looking for a path to make sure we could pull their citizenship away from them. So break down this bill for us.
Well, basically, what it does is if you have people who are supporting terrorist activities or people who are committing terrorist activities, it would put as mandatory that they have to have, if they're naturalized citizens, that you basically pull their naturalization. You mentioned right now that the administration is going after people who lied on their applications and they had criminal charges or criminal acts before, and they did not disclose it. What this does is says after you've become a naturalized citizen, if you are doing terrorist activities or supporting terrorist activities, and you're found guilty of that, that you part of the disciplinary procedures would be to have your naturalization pulled and deported. And I don't think we're doing that nearly enough. And you brought up, on the Islamic terrorist side, but it also goes further than that. The administration has declared drug cartels now foreign terrorist organizations. So it would also include folks who are naturalized, who are now helping with sex trafficking, drug trafficking, gang activity. And I've talked to many North Texan law enforcement officers, and this would give them tools that they need to make sure people that are committing these horrible atrocities can actually be deported. Being in America, getting an American citizenship is a privilege. It is not a right. And if you cannot obey our laws, if you cannot respect, our way of life, you shouldn't be able to stay.
Yeah, and that's the key part in all of this. It is a privilege to be an American, and it's not a right for those who are being brought into our country and looking for citizenship, and we need to treat it just like that. What's the reception been like since you've introduced this bill in Congress? Can we expect a vote, a House vote soon? What's going on there?
I would hope so. I would hope so. The Republicans I've talked to all understand why we need it. They're supportive. Let's just hope that we can get leadership to do the same thing, recognizing the fact that we've got only a few short weeks really left in this in this season. So we need to get these bills on the floor ASAP.
Yeah, and it's really, really important. Folks at home, if you're looking to get involved, you got to call your local reps and make sure that they make this a top priority. Because again, like the Congresswoman just detailed, we've only got a couple of weeks left, and midterms are sneaking up on us real quick. So now is the time to do just that. I want to get to another issue because here in Texas, obviously, it's been very there's a lot of people speaking out about the Islam issue, and I think this is an important one. And Sarah Gonzalez over at the Blaze has done an incredible job at outlining the threat here in Texas. But she also came across something that was jaw dropping for me in Denton was where the area is specifically. There's an Islamic cemetery, and openly on the website, they're actually pushing for those who want to possibly be buried here to participate in Islamic law. Now, that is Sharia, and it's obviously deeply, deeply concerning. Now, Sarah Gonzalez has been doing incredible work. I know Amy Meckenberg as well has been doing great work over at the Rare Foundation, all of this, and kind of digging into what's been going on in the homeland. But we hear all the time that Republicans are looking to push back and make sure that Sharia is not implemented here in the United States. But it looks like it's being clearly advertised here in Texas. What do you make about this? Because I know this is happening. This is Brandon Gill, who also is very outspoken on the issue. It's happening in his district, but it's happening all across Texas. So what do you make of this?
Yeah. I remember when Sharia law court was actually tried to come out in my district when I was a mayor, and we fought against it. I know that the media loves to portray people who actually speak out against this Islamic extremism as somehow we are Islamophobic when we use the same language that they are using. We're simply repeating or reading the language that they're using. And I think it's, one thing to have a religious cemetery. Look, since our country was founded, we have had religious cemeteries. That is absolutely the case. I was brought up Episcopalian. We have Episcopal churches that have cemeteries around them. This is nothing new. You've got Jewish cemeteries. This happens. But I think where we have to really pay particular attention is when you see them so obviously not just talking about religious principles, but when you hear them talking about separate laws, because what they're doing is it's not very subtle, it is very obvious. Words matter. And I think what they're trying to do is insert that type of language in readily agreed upon principles such as religious cemeteries, and all of a sudden you make it normal. You start normalizing that language where people are reading going, oh, it's just law, but it's only here. Oh, it's just Sharia law here. And we need to fight back on that, because you cannot make this a regular habit. You cannot normalize having a separate law in our country. And I think that is where they start having problems. And you don't see the media calling them out on it. You see the media attacking folks like you, me, and Sarah for actually repeating what these radicals are actually saying and writing.
Yeah, yeah, and it's deeply concerning. And the feminists out there, I've been waiting for them to get involved in all of this. Sharia is not your friend; it is not your ally, especially if you're a feminist. So I don't know why we're not hearing from them on this front, but it's one of the many issues that we have these days. I want to dive into the H-1B visa issue as well. That's a big, big issue here in Texas. I can attest to it too. In Plano, Texas, we've got a big issue with that. There seems to be a lot of abuse, and as we mentioned, Sarah Gonzalez been doing a lot of digging into all of this. But you've been calling for an investigation into H-1B visa fraud, and it looks like you've actually got that. The Inspector General,
Yes.
Anthony Desposito, who's a fellow Long Islander as well, he has actually launched that investigation. Let's take a listen.
Is also fraud is without a doubt fueling and funding both violent crime and criminal enterprises throughout the United States of America. And when it comes to H-1B visas, there is no question that just as we saw with the individuals who were crossing the southern border illegally and they were escorted by coyotes or criminal enterprises or gangs or cartels or Tren de Aragua, we have people who are being brought into the United States of America to work under these visas so that they can kick back money and parts
Mm-hmm.
of their wages to criminal enterprises. So not only are they taking American jobs away, not only are they putting American people out of work, but they're actually taking the wages of the American dollar and sending it back to criminal enterprises. And after these conversations, we said absolutely no more. We started issuing subpoenas because my office and I have the ability to issue subpoenas, and we are going to conduct a thorough, expansive investigation with the help of the White House task force into these H-1B visas and perm.
Oh my gosh. I
It's a big one. It's a big one, and I don't think many Americans
Yeah.
understand just that. Break down what you've learned about the H-1B visa fraud throughout the country, because this is something that needs to happen, the investigation itself.
Well, I'll tell you, what you're seeing is you're seeing fraud across the country. You're seeing universities as well who are abusing this, as well as businesses and just lay people who recognize the fact that there's money to be had in this, and they are putting together a whole group of folks to then sell to companies where they're getting kickbacks on how much they're getting paid. Companies are happy to play along because they're not having to pay as much to an H-1B visa holder as they are to an American citizen. So it's really chopping out American citizens who are completely ready, available, and have the skill set to take these jobs, and they're giving them to people to bring them over to this country. It is a crock. It is a scandal. I think right now what you are seeing, especially in North Texas, is concentrations of this type of activity that are happening. And you mentioned Sarah Gonzalez. She's done a great job of uncovering, just where a lot of these things are taking place. In my hometown of Irving. And so, I, along with, you mentioned Brandon Gill earlier, Brandon Gill, Pat Fallon, and Ronnie Jackson all wrote a letter to the administration, urging them to crack down, urging them to give us some guidance on legislation that we could pass that would prevent this from happening in the future, looking at ways that they could have agencies actually start to crack down and look at best practices. And that is exactly what this administration has done. You saw D'Esposito talking about how they are going after it. They are being very aggressive because it has been, this has been growing over time. The H-1B visa program sounded great when it started. We were going to allow businesses to be able to get the best of the best around the world and access to talent pools that perhaps were not available in the US. What it has turned into is an entirely dark industry where they are bringing folks over, putting a whole bench on the line, just looking for ways of being able to basically, and in some cases, human traffic these visa holders out, where they are not only paying them off to these businesses, they've become like almost like coyotes, but also sending those dollars overseas. So this administration is taking it seriously. They are being very aggressive in going after some of the areas that we've mentioned, some of the people that we've mentioned, and they're going to continue to do so. And we are going to give them as much support as we can possibly give from Congress.
Yeah, yeah, and it's happening, and I get the emails all the time when they finally make these busts and they're making these arrests and they're indicting people. It is happening in this administration, and we have to give them credit for that. Congressman, before we go, though, I want to give you a quick moment to have the floor. I know you're hosting a job fair in North Texas, and we look forward to this, especially if you're an American. You should definitely take advantage of this. I was going to joke about an
Yes.
H-1B visa thing, but it's a serious topic. We shouldn't laugh about that one. But I'll let you have the floor. Tell our audience a little bit more about how they can get involved in case they're looking for a job right now.
Well, you mentioned earlier, some of the hardships that we've got about getting stuff passed in DC. One of the things that we were able to pass last year, I think, was the Working Families Tax Cut bill, which is probably the largest piece of legislation I've ever worked on in Congress. Part of what it had was job requirements in order to get some of the entitlement dollars. What we're doing is bringing that home. We're looking at the final mile, and we are helping people to get jobs. This has become really this was an act of love when we started during COVID. It has only grown out and been more successful. Last year alone, we had over 35,000 people who came out looking for jobs. We had over 520 businesses last year. This year, we've got over 670 businesses now that are going to be there, representing over 66,000 job opportunities. This is the largest independent job fair in the country. So this is going to be over at Globe Life Field on this Thursday, August 6th, from 11 to 3 o'clock. Urge people to go to myntxjobs.com. Look at the number of businesses that are going to be there. 670. Have a game plan. Bring comfortable shoes. Bring your phone. Make sure you've got extra resumes, a good attitude. And if you are looking for your next career, something will be there for you. We've got every single industry that you can possibly imagine. In previous years, about 30% of the jobs have been $100,000 job a year or more. So from entry level all the way to C-suite. So we look forward to seeing everybody this Thursday, August 6th, from 11 to 3 over at Globe Life Field, myntxjobs.com.
We love it. We love it. Congresswoman, thank you for all that you're doing. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for all you're doing too. I really appreciate it. And you've had a strong week. Keep it going.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.